What is marketing automation?
This is what our company does, don't you know?
What is it, Chris? Okay, let's go. Ready? Welcome back. Wing It Podcast, goosedigital.com. Episode 17. Who do we have?
Kevin Butler.
Robin Kroll.
Chris O'Neill.
All right.
And
Welcome to, Michael Texani. I always forget that. Well, there you go. So welcome to 2019.
The Upside Down edition.
Yeah, we're upside down. These microphones were blocking our faces.
We've received feedback that people can't see our pretty faces.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about you guys.
30,000 comments later, we decided to adjust the microphones.
They want to see us smile.
Yeah. So here we are, and we thought we should just bring it right back to basics because we're doing a lot of meetings lately where marketing automation isn't a well-known topic, or maybe one of 8 people in a meeting are familiar with it, but there's a lot of education that seems to be going around, even in some very large companies, right, Chris?
Absolutely. It's surprising how, as much as the product has been available for close to a decade now, or even more. There's still a lack of understanding.
But it's becoming more and more topical. People are saying this is a thing. It's a thing I need to do. We kind of want to get to this thing this year, especially beginning of the year. Everyone's saying, okay, let's look at what this could be in our programs.
Well, I think there's a couple groups though. Sorry, keep going, Chris.
Well, I was just going to say it's like if they understand how important it is to reach their customer.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where it is that we're getting that sort of crossover of understanding is like marketing automation to us has a certain meaning. There's a certain number of sort of tactics that are involved in that. But when it comes to sitting down with somebody and saying how it is that you are going to, planning on growing in 2019, the marketing automation phrase doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to them as it does to us. So I think that's a big part of the conversations that we're having right now is where is 2019 going?
So if you have, if there's 3 camps, let's say there's 3 camps. So if you said we are hearing, I like that, that engaging the customer across their life cycle is something that is a priority, right? So we have new business development, we've got existing customers, there's pipeline. So it's essentially engaging the customers becoming an important piece, and they want to reboot that piece in their business. Then it sort of breaks down into sort of 3 camps that we've seen out there in our deals. One is, maybe I'll go like, Kev, to build on your piece. One is they sort of already understand that marketing automation is part of the puzzle, and they likely already have a level of a strategy, and they need a really great partner to make that strategy come to life. It's augmenting the team. Maybe they've got some internal resource already there. You don't have to convince them that tool or those technology platforms are part of that engagement story. They know it, and they just need a good partner to go make that happen. The middle is like, we've heard of it, and to your point, I think that was the middle bucket that you described. We think this is the right thing. We're staring at some numbers that suggest from Smart Insights that it's like literally the 3rd largest priority in the B2B marketing, and their study with MTechs out of the UK. It's like the 3rd biggest priority for them, but they don't maybe know how to go and make that happen. So there's still a lot of education, but the difference is that they know that they need it. And then the other camp is where they almost have no idea what it is. It's like you walk into the room in some very large companies and VPs of marketing, VPs of digital, and they're still getting up to speed with, we've kind of have a certain way of doing things, engaging our customers via email or whatever those technologies are, and we're not aware of that marketing automation. So we thought we could kind of go mostly to that group, and maybe some of the people in the middle that have people in their businesses that don't know what this is, and just explore. Maybe what we should talk about first is if you fall into that bucket 1 category, where you're not really aware of marketing automation or what it can do, what are the things, like what are the attributes of you as a business that you would typically, that we would see in a deal? Like what would you say, Chris, when we're walking in, or out of a meeting even we had today, a customer wasn't, had no real idea that these products were in the market to the level that they were. So what do we know about those types of clients?
So those types of clients have they have typically a business. In other words, they are sitting there with a whole bunch of customers and a value proposition for those customers. They know where it is that they wish to go in terms of where their growth is going to be coming from. Mm-hmm. And now the question is, how do they make contact? How do they manage those, manage that communication and get out to those new and existing customers?
And in some cases, they're using what already? I mean, they're usually doing something.
A lot of times they're using like a straight ahead email program, like something that is
sometimes nothing though.
Sometimes nothing, but we're hearing
most of the time they're doing something, right? And I think I'm wondering if part of it is that they are doing something, but they have no sense that maybe one of those things they're doing, which might be email, maybe they're even doing some digital ads. They have no understanding that that's actually an aspect of marketing automation.
Yes.
So, it's kind of like, and maybe this is a fourth bucket that might be a group of businesses that are doing some aspects of marketing automation, but they don't know that because they don't know what marketing automation actually is.
Oh, for
right?
sure. Like, I mean, you're in situations where maybe they've done custom development to accomplish things that are doable from a marketing automation platform out of box. Like let's say a certain type of triggered behavior email, and that was custom coded as part of a website. Yeah. And to your point, not realizing that, well, with certain, with a platform in place, those things are actually, you can point and click your way through them in a platform like that versus custom code. So you're right. Yeah,
exactly.
there could be like a level of marketing automation stitched in there.
Right.
But Chris, to your description, I'd maybe back out even another 10,000 feet and say a business with an audience or audiences requiring communication. To Robin's point, now I'm just bridging it all together. Sometimes we talk to businesses who they think of engaging an audience and communicating to an audience. It like on one hand, like they'll say, well, we need a series of emails to communicate and engage and alert them that there's a big event or something. But what they won't think about is the whole pie. So they'll say, we need to tell our prospects. Well, you also need to tell another audience group like your customers. And so they're using maybe a tool in a manual, old school kind of way, traditionally, but they're not using it to the full extent that they haven't even thought about that they could.
Right.
So that's sort of interesting too.
And they have separate teams, right? So they'll have their sales team that will be focused on their customer marketing. They'll have the the sales team on their leads, and account managers on customer marketing. So there's that disconnect again, not fitting into the strategy.
They're not using the same plan, probably not the same tools. No.
Yeah. So exactly. So a couple of common threads. Email platform, probably a mass blast, probably something that is very manual in terms of cobbling together lists and putting out an email. In some cases, things that can take very long if you're in a larger company where, even acquiring an up-to-date list and then moving that through the system, getting an email out the door can be quite a turnaround time for some of these organizations. That's one for sure. They're probably not, another one just to throw on the table is the sort of tracking capability. One of the things we've seen is the moment organizations or marketers or business executives can understand that we can create much more of a digital profile of not just email opens and clicks, but the fact that it is the same person, and now you're able to sort of see that, they've browsed X number of pages on our website, they've downloaded a few pieces of media, they've engaged us on social, and that complete tracking. So a lot of times that's missing. There is no ability to do that level of tracking, correct?
Yeah, so it's more of a campaign focus, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we did, this is how customers behaved, but it's kind of a one-off, very small slice.
But maybe that's a good example for the second bucket that you described is know some stuff, but not everything there is to know about it, because as we all well know, we've talked about a lot on this podcast and other episodes in the past, is the actual emailing part of marketing automation represents only some of marketing automation. It doesn't encompass for tracking and alerts and processes around that, or even the reporting and insights that sales or marketing or executive leadership can obtain from it.
Yeah, so you may be using, I mean, the other thing that we would see is maybe some of those other technologies are in use. So, they may have landing page software, they may have some tracking software, to your point, they may be effectively doing some of those things just in multiple systems, right? And now you're exposing, with the marketing automation platform, you can have those pieces under one roof, which then enable the sort of 360 view. So I think that's another kind of classical thing that we could see. In some cases, to your point, Kev, it doesn't exist at all, but they might be very familiar with landing pages and we do that in this system and that system, and then you're sort of trying to paint the path of saying, okay, well, that you're doing those things today, now you can take it to the next level. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I as you were saying that, I was just thinking, like, sort of two thoughts. One is, like, marketing automation, we've always said, isn't a great name for what this is. And then I got thinking, well, what would it be? And I think what we're seeing is, like a lot of other technologies, marketing automation continues to grow in terms of the scope of what it touches and covers. So you've got emails and landing pages, and then it's moving its way into more advanced reporting. You've got account-based marketing, and before we know it, it's probably going to encompass levels of text and all that stuff, right? And it continues to grow. And so what do you call it? How do you use it? And you can see how organizations who aren't, like, at the precipice of technology innovation don't know that it all does belong under one roof.
It's interesting because so the automation part is one aspect, but as we're talking about it, perhaps even more powerful that is that integration or that 360 view, that's more of the power of the platform. And yes, it's all automated, but it's the fact that it can all be connected and linked.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and with preference. So I think if it's interesting because we would say, well, if you're a VP of digital or a director of digital or a director of marketing, sometimes we think, oh, well, you should know those things, to your point, Kev. Like, you should be aware of those things. But I think in late adopter markets, especially, you could have a very seasoned VP of marketing that has a great handle on the business and the things that are going on, and maybe that person's been put in charge of working out a digital plan, and they don't know these things.
Actually, to that point, I have a few friends who have director and VP level jobs in more, like, less innovative industries, right?
Sure.
And what you see is those titles actually reflect that in a way where it's like industry practices in marketing.
Right. Yeah.
And so their job isn't really at all to understand technology. Their job is to understand the evolutions going on in those spaces. And so that's why the theme of this podcast is other podcasts, but that's why we've talked about having like a VP of digital tech or a marketing automation manager whose job it is to go in and actually understand the role that these tools will play in helping the VP of marketing insights and solutions do their jobs better.
And I think we've also talked about, I'm not sure if on the podcast or certainly around the office, the role of a CMO or VP of marketing and the breadth of things that she or he is expected to understand today. And it's certainly very different than it was a couple of years ago. So, marketing automation would be part of the requirements for today, but someone's in the role for the last 5 years, that might not have been something that they've worked with.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so, and then adopting that. What I think you brought it up at the beginning, Chris, and whether that was actually already on the podcast or not. Having 10 years under our belt with this, I think, is a key thing, because with marketing technology and the explosive growth and just thousands of tools, it is very difficult to navigate that water and say, well, what pieces would you bring in? So if the marketing automation layer, and we all believe it's here to stay. Large CRM companies like Salesforce have those products. Other products like Marketo are doubling down. Acton that are doubling down in a very big way. HubSpot seems to be, and there's other ones that are obviously coming up as well. So a marketer drawing that connection to say that is a piece that we think we need it. We think we need that piece. That's an important component. How do I go and put it in the business and and make my first year, my second year, my third year kind of a strategic adoption program versus, like you said, Robin, like a campaign approach.
Yeah, I think I think without somebody to help navigate, a combination of the technology as well as the, sort of the communication, I think it's really, really difficult for somebody who's got sort of a traditional or heritage marketing background to sort of navigate that. So I think there's, and then the sort of the traditional IT group that is all, let's face it, it's all about security. It's all about, starting with concern and starting with, skepticism about, okay, how secure is this going to be? Well, that's where I think you do need that seasoned partner who understands how things go together and how it is that you supplement the basic platforms like the marketing automation platforms with supporting technology to drive those dashboards, drive that information that will really generate the ROI.
So if you're looking to get into marketing automation, maybe we can just switch gears and we'll do a couple and then we'll wrap up with recommendations on how you can go about doing that. So, maybe between first of all, from an education perspective, Kev, maybe I'll turn this over to you and Robin in terms of how would you best recommend for someone to just get up to speed on what marketing automation is and at a 500-foot level and start to dig down into the capabilities?
It's a good question. It's a broad one. I think the first one is you definitely need to subscribe to Wing It, first and foremost.
Yes.
Little plug there.
But, when you look at the core modules of marketing automation, I think it does break down to probably influence over emails, influence over websites and just digital, and then maybe reporting. And I'd sort of break it down and say, how could that help me in my various sort of chat channels or platforms for what my job requires? The only other thing I'd say is every business have an audience. Chris, you and I talk about this a lot too, right? So what would those audiences be that require at least somewhat unique messaging? Maybe we always talk about our three is we have prospects, customers, and partners. Each of those require much different messages. And then from there, I think you can start to think about, okay, well, what's the cadence I would try to communicate with them? What would I say in each of those?
Right.
And I think that's a decent starting point for that.
Robin, anything you want to?
Well, I take even a step back in that, we've talked about marketing automation platforms or marketing automation, what it delivers, but I think the first step is to be better informed on the breadth of what those platforms can deliver. So just doing some basic research and getting familiar with, all aspects of the tool and starting to say, okay, email, yeah, we do that in my business. Lead generation, yeah, that's really important for us. We want to do tracking. So getting a little bit more familiar, so getting beyond the name. So understanding what's underneath and trying to see how that might fit into your business. That would be the first thing that I would do.
Yeah. Anything you want to throw in there, Chris?
Yeah, I think starting with what do you want to do? What is it that's going to be driving either your engagement with your existing customers? What is it that, what new product do you have? We talked to customers this week about, they want to get out into the market with basically a new product, and they recognize the fact that, the means of getting that information out there. There's a whole new way of getting that information out there to those customers and those prospects.
And just to add what you're saying, so what you want to do, and another thing would be, what are your pain points? So what are the things that are very challenging for you as a business?
I think the thing with the pain points, and I was thinking about this as you guys were talking about the various recommendations, that I think you can get into a assumptive bias where, let's say, for example, list management. If you're on a more traditional email environment and you're dealing with your list, and that's a painful process. That may not be something that they think is solvable, necessarily. Like
Just
they may
used to dealing with it.
they're like, well, how, and we hear this, right? Because the technical side of the house, or sometimes even marketing could have this where it's, but it's so terrible. I mean, anything to do with adding more data into the mix and even trying to do something, that's just another X, Y, and a Z problem. It's take forever. So they believe that like that level of marketing communication, like they're not even thinking that's a pain point. Like it's pain. They don't know it's solvable pain.
They think they have to live with
They
it.
think they have to live with it. So I think those are also some, like I would almost say that come with a kind of an open mind with some of that stuff. And maybe to your point, Robin, like put the pain down and don't assume that however you're doing these marketing functions today is this going to be how it's going to be done tomorrow with marketing automation.
In fact, flip it, right? So you've got your list of your pain points and saying, I want to see what is out there in technology that can help resolve these pain
Right.
points, and start looking at marketing automation, because there could be a lot of things within the platform that could help.
The next big one I would say is that if you're a company that is engaging your audience, to your point, Kev, you have audiences to engage, you're communicating in a variety of different ways, and you have an email program of some sort, like you campaign on some sort of regular basis, I would say try to move into a marketing automation platform as soon as you can. I mean, one of the problems in the marketing automation market that we all know, because we help clients through this every day, is that many of them are still in that tier 1, level 1, whatever you want to call it, email mode,
blast.
email blast mode. So they've literally moved from an email engine into a map. They're not using it like a map. They're just blasting away. But the good news is that you're getting that tracking and that historical insight and a level of data management. And even if you're not using it yet, and that was some of the feedback that we left with the team today, is that at a bare minimum here, if you feel like this may be, from a 2019 budget perspective, you can't quite get there, try to get that system changed. And then at least, a year later, you'll have a lot more to work
You're
with
ahead of the game.
than you will with a traditional
I
system.
think that's an important message, because adoption isn't solved in 1 day or 2 days or even a quarter. I think it's about starting somewhere and continually evolving how you're using that and where you're using it, not just in marketing and even just sales, but across the org. We it's probably a multi-year journey to really go and optimize the business around this kind of tooling. And it sounds like broad and sort of whimsical, for lack of a better word, but it really could actually change the way you do things across a business if you can integrate its functionality and sort of what it supports across all the lead to opportunity to customer and even like service parts of your business, whatever that looks
Well,
like.
I think what we are, our business is marketing automation. So, I mean, we're out here talking about it, but the good news is, even this report is on 2019. So this research was done in October, and the top three, one of the top 3 priorities was marketing automation. So I think if you're in that level 1 camp, or maybe you're one marketer around a table of people that are very new to the concept, the good news is there's data here, and there's companies that are covering it, and there's research that suggests other marketers believe in it. And this isn't us telling you that you should do this. It's like, you really need to look at what's out there and pick up on that, and that can be part of your business case.
Yeah, the other thing we'd be remiss to not mention this is there's lots of other leading analyst firms who have done pretty quality research on who they believe the top players are, where the strengths and limitations are. We even did one on the Gartner research Magic Quadrant on marketing automation. So
Right.
But my point is there's lots of other reports out there that talk about who these things are or who these guys are and what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, so that just another recommendation, another resource for someone who might be still, these concepts are foreign to them.
Or maybe just ask Siri. Siri, what is marketing automation?
Well, that was going to be my first answer. Just go ahead and Google it, because really, anytime I come across a term and you're not 100% sure what it is, that's going to be your first step, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that hopefully that we've added a bit of value towards the group that might be unsure what marketing automation can do, and how to position that internally. Certainly, give us a call, or give Chris a call.
Give me a call.
Yeah.
If you call us, we will send it to Chris.
He loves to have these conversations.
I love talking on the phone.
Yeah, and in person. Yeah. Okay. Well, good, guys.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Happy 2019.